Now you saw the shrimp scampi all minute, start to finish pickup. We're gonna expand on that a little bit and cover some of the riffs that we did in our F-step worksheet video when we were discussing shrimp scampi. So in that video I said, hey look, it's very common to use your pasta as a delivery device, or sometimes polenta as a delivery device. You could serve it without starch to make it a lighter appetizer. But also too, if you really nail that garlic butter emulsion, it's gonna taste so good, you're gonna want some sort of delivery vessel, and starch is a great delivery vessel for sauce, to help mop up some of that sauce. But pasta works great, it doesn't always have to be pasta, however. So in that video we used the example of a baguette, and we started kind of riffing on bruschetta, because in traditional Italian bruschetta, you're grilling the bread and it's olive oil and garlic rubbed. Then the Americanized style is you kind of have a tomato garlic mix on top. So what we're going to do is, here I have some confit tomatoes. They're just confit mixed baby tomatoes, and the way that we make these at the restaurant is just a metal pan of oil, of olive oil, and we just cover the tomatoes in that olive oil, some sprigs of thyme, some crushed garlic, salt and pepper, and then we just sit it on our repose shelf, which is basically this hot spot above our stove, for 2 to 3 hours while we're doing prep. And that slow cook just helps to make these tomatoes nice and succulent and give them a confit style of cook. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this flavored oil and we're going to pour it into this quarter pan here, and this baguette that I've sliced on the bias, we're going to go ahead and soak it in that oil. So instead of just coating the pan with olive oil, we're actually going to soak this baguette with some flavorful olive oil. And it's going to bring a little bit of an extra richness to this dish. So now I just have this saute pan heating dry, and we're going to heat this on about medium-high heat, and we're going to have to fuss with it a little bit. But what we want to do is just simply toast this baguette and then set it aside for when our shrimp scampi is finished, okay? So baguette goes in. Now see how nice and even and golden brown that baguette's toasting up, because we soaked it first in that oil. And you can see you're thinking, oh, this might be too rich and oily, but it really isn't, because a lot of that oil is going to actually kind of press out of the baguette. You can see there's a lot more in the pan than we started with as it cooks. But it gives this entire slice of baguette a beautiful perfuming of all the aromas that are in the oil. As we learned in the F-step curriculum, right, a really important part of our perception of flavor is our sense of smell. That's where all the complexity of flavor comes from. So soaking your baguette in an oil rich with aromas of herbs and garlic and tomato, and then toasting it in that same oil is going to give you a really beautiful flavor due to that aroma. All right. Give this a couple more tosses and flips. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set these guys aside to drain on these paper towels. So there. Maybe a little touch of salt to season. And now since we got nice hot oil in this pan, we'll just go ahead and build our shrimp scampi directly on top. So now we're cooking our shrimp scampi in this flavorful oil. So again, we'll do 6 shrimp. Keeping the pan moving, so that way the shrimp aren't sticking and creating a fond, because if we allow the shrimp to stick and create a fond, it's going to darken our sauce, which if you want a darker, richer sauce, you could do that. You could allow these to sear, stick, create a fond, and then deglaze them with your white wine. It's just another approach, right? Move my return over here a little bit closer. All right, toss, toss, toss. Now in goes our garlic, our shallot, herbs, and also too, we're going to throw in some roasted garlic. Okay, and then a couple of these larger cherry tomato pieces. Saute around, deglaze. So also too, if you were paying attention in our previous video, I forgot to add the lemon. So I may go back and reshoot it, in which case you saw me add the lemon. I may not. We'll see. All right. Now, so now that this is almost completely gone, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add just a little more white wine because I got busy talking there, which is a good tip, right? So if you get busy talking, you over-reduce, you don't have anything to emulsify into, you can either add some more white wine. Again, you always want to reduce your white wine or your wine in general by half. And then once that's reduced, if your pan's looking a little bit dry, you can also add just a touch of water. And that's going to help to hold everything together. So now we're going to add in our lemon juice so it's bright and fresh. Reduce that a little bit. We'll go ahead and make way on this plate. And I'm going to turn the heat down. And again, when you're doing these emulsions, what's really important is being able to see when you have just the right amount of water left or liquid left to then start emulsifying in your butter. Because if you have too much, it's going to be watery and you never get your emulsification. But if you don't have enough, then your butter will have nothing to emulsify into. And feel free, again, to adjust your heat down as you go. I'm going to add one more little knob of butter here. Swirl that in. You can see our emulsification forming. And this is also too why these home inductions are kind of a pain sometimes, is they'll turn off every time you pull the pan up, a lot of them. So right about here, when I have that much butter left, I'm going to go ahead and kill my heat. Keep on swirling, keep on swirling. All right, call it good. Okay. So now, this is the first time I've ever done this dish or this plate. I mean, it's not super groundbreaking, right? We're just incorporating a baguette. But, you know, who knows? Maybe I just do like a single baguette like this, or maybe I can take this guy and use it as a garnish. I think if I put two down, it might look a little bit too bulky. But again, that's something that you play with, right? As you're plating stuff and as you're making dishes. I think, looking at this, we have enough gap on each side to actually plate this like that. But I don't know, I'm kind of feeling this. Sometimes more space is better, and then we'll come back for this guy later possibly. So we'll go ahead and start with our tongs. That was a super amateur move, by the way. Don't do that. We're still getting this teaching kitchen set up, so I don't have my normal flow and spoon returns and things of that nature. And those are all things that you work out via execution. So maybe we'll shift this guy down a little bit more. So that's another note. If I want to do 6, I got to get a little bit tighter. Or maybe you just decide to do less shrimp. But it kind of looks nice like that, with the shrimp kind of coming off of the front there. So now, I'm thinking we'll take our baby tomatoes that have been confit and kind of stick them along this shrimp here. And then we'll have some nice big chunks of roasted garlic right over the top with our sauce. And then since I have this tomato on this side and this tomato on that side, they're just kind of hanging out there, we're gonna go ahead and do another drizzle around the plate, and that'll bring a little bit more evenness to the plate. Those tomatoes won't look so lonely, right? From here, if you wanted to, maybe add a little more green. I'm thinking just a little bit of chives right across the top. Might be nice, and a nice even line. If a couple of chives kind of fall into place, not a big deal. And also, I mean, this is great as it is. Looking at this, and especially for like an appetizer, maybe, you know, I'm kind of thinking, hey, I kind of want this to have just a little bit of a kick to it. So let's see what we have on the spice shelf. So red pepper flakes would be right at home here. Any sort of spice would be nice on this, or you could always leave the spice off. Now, real quick, if you're serving a spicy dish, and just a little bit of pepper flake on this won't make it too spicy, but if you're going for a little bit of a spicier appetizer, make sure you're serving it with an off-dry white wine or something with a little bit of residual sugar or sweetness to help balance that spice, because if you don't, then it'll be too much for the wine to handle. It'll blow it up. If you have like a high acidic wine without any sort of sweetness on it, the spiciness of the dish will actually make that wine taste horrible, which you don't want to do. So here I have some Korean chili flakes from Spiceology, which is just a nice little fun touch on top. A little bit different than our red chili flakes. Do a nice little line, give it a little bit of a kick. And it looks like this second piece of baguette we don't really need. It doesn't really have a purpose. We have that one on the bottom just to sop up some of our sauce, and we're good there. So that's kind of the process. Again, that's the first time I had made that dish. Again, nothing groundbreaking, so it's not like it was a really high level of difficulty to add in a toasted piece of baguette and try and do a little bit of a play on a bruschetta or a bruschetta. Now, looking at this, I probably wouldn't actually call this a shrimp scampi bruschetta like we did in our original worksheet when we were kind of conceptualizing it in our heads, because I'm not really getting that conveyance of the bruschetta. So I'd probably give this its own little name. I might not even call it shrimp scampi. Or you call it like shrimp scampi crostini or something along those lines. So I go back and play with the name a little bit in the description. So again, a real classic version, and then a little bit of a dressed up version of the classic, but I mean, not much different technically speaking, right? For those of you who are paying attention in the first video, yes, I absolutely did forget to add the lemon juice. So if that happens, you can just do a little bit right over the top. Just some fresh squeezed lemon juice. It'll give that nice bright lemon sharpness, and you should be good to go. Now again, as you can see here, using the F-step process and F-step worksheet, we did a take on a kind of a classic style and then our own approach. And I hope it conveyed to you the overall purpose of the F-step curriculum in the process, which is taking a concept or a recipe or a dish and making it your own. Not feeling like you need a precise recipe, right? Understanding how to identify your flavor structure, identify various cooking techniques that go well with your primary ingredient, how to make a quick sauce using one of the 3 modern mother sauce techniques, and then getting food onto a plate. And it doesn't have to be perfect. The first time looking at this, there's probably a couple of different changes that I would make to it, but this is something that I could serve as an appetizer right now, feel good about. I'm sure the flavor is delicious, and slowly adjust it over time. And if it's something that starts to take off, we'll start doing more riffs on this style of a plate, and it will evolve over time as well. So as a chef in a professional context, or even a home cook, right? You want to take these dishes, get something that looks great, that tastes great, that you're proud to serve, but then always be looking to just slowly evolve it over time to make it more interesting, to give it that little extra push. And one of the biggest advantages that professional cooks have over home cooks is when I put this on my menu, my saute cook will cook this 20 times in a single night, right? You might cook this once on a weekend and forget about it for 3 weeks and try it again. So conceptualizing a dish and then cooking it time and time again, adding new riffs and new little fun plays on it each time, every single time you're going to get better, you're going to get faster, you're going to be able to nail your emulsification, right? Most of you, the first time you try it, your emulsification will be broken, but don't worry, it'll still be a delicious buttery sauce, right? But over time, as you practice and get more reps in, you'll be able to produce more consistent results, and then start putting in additional riffs and plays on top of it.